You are the author of a book called H2H, Human to Human. How should HR leaders interpret that human-to-human focus?
The idea behind H2H is three different pillars: simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. The companies that I coach, every single one of them has the same problem. Stop talking to people like people. HR isn't the keeper of humanity. They're the proof of whether the company has humanity. Culture isn't what you write on the wall, it's what your people feel on the drive home.
How can leaders then move away from corporate language and communicate more authenticity?
One thing I'd say is talk to your team the way you'd like to talk to a friend who just got bad news.
The biggest communication mistake that leaders are making?
They communicate to be seen as smart, not to be understood. Anything can be said directly with compassion. Say it directly, say with compassion. Engagement is my number one metric. Creating moments of truth, little moments of human truth, one-to-one, human to human. You're gonna create a much bigger moment when the chips are down.
How can HR balance automations with real human connections?
AI can help us be more present with each other. It's not the opposite. AI is the weather. Your humanity is the house. Build the house first and then decide what windows to open.
Do you believe that the HR is becoming more human or more data-driven?
Oh, it's data without humanity.
Hello, Bryan. It's a pleasure for me to have you today here on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. I think we have a very interesting conversation, and the timing is good because you are close by. You are in Lisbon in these days, although we are doing this conversation remotely like every other guest. And I would like to not only to meet you, but also to discuss with you your book and the help that you've been giving to leaders. And for those that don't know you yet, you are the author of a book called H2H, Human to Human, a TED speaker and a strategic advisor helping leaders to operate differently in Silicon Valley. So why not having this conversation to a broader audience?
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I built my career in Silicon Valley. I launched several companies and built them there. The companies that I help are global, and I get lucky enough to help all kinds of different people at the executive level. I'm really focused on human to human. Have been since I wrote the book 11 years ago, and I'm excited to talk about it here. Thank you so much.
The fact that you put human to human as being like the focus of everything that we are going to discuss today and dealing with Silicon Valley executives, I think it takes courage, because I'm guessing that human sometimes is not a priority for that kind of environment. How should HR leaders interpret that human to human focus on their daily work?
Great question. The answer to that question hasn't changed, even though the environment has changed significantly. The idea, I think, behind H2H is born out of three different pillars: simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. And I think that those have only gotten stronger over the last decade. The biggest thing I'd say is that we need to stop optimizing for the org chart and optimize for the human sitting across from us. Everything else that we do is decoration. As we start to look at H2H since I wrote that book in 2014, there's a title that went along with H2H, which was "There's no B2B or B2C." That's business to consumer, business to business. It doesn't matter at the end of the day who's sitting. How you're presenting yourself. The customer at the end of the day is really the person that we're trying to serve. And what happens inside of our companies, every brand, every room that we sit in, even 10 years later, even at the companies that I coach, like Netflix and MasterCard and Sony, every single one of them has the same problem. It's not strategy. It's not skills. They've stopped talking to people like people. And that's the idea, is that we get back into simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. And by imperfection, I don't mean we're creating mistakes. I mean, we're acknowledging them when they're happening.
Makes sense. It's humans above all, ultimately. humans, right? Do you think HR is the function best positioned then to bring this humanity that you mentioned back into organizations?
Another good one. HR isn't, I don't think that HR is the keeper of humanity. They're the proof of whether the company has humanity. And every policy is a confession to that humanity that we keep. So when you look at any handbook and you can tell within 5 pages whether the company trusts its people, like things like the length of PTO section alone is pretty much the tell of how every company is functioning. I had a CHRO tell me last year she felt replaceable, not because of AI, but because the climate AI created that made her feel like a cost line. So HR isn't positioned to bring humanity back. They're the canary. They're the guiding post that helps every person feel acknowledged and seen as someone that matters within the organization. How we treat each thing as value, every person as a value to the organization will get a stronger output and impact to the organization. So there's a lot of different ways that I can go with that, but I just want to make sure and reiterate that HR isn't the keeper of humanity. They're the proof of whether the company has humanity.
It's like the company's culture, right? HR is not responsible for creating the company culture. That must come from everyone in the company. So do you think that when we think that business don't have emotions but people do, how this also affects company culture, for example?
Culture is an interesting topic. I love culture. It's something that everyone has to, as you mentioned, have a part in. Also, I would say culture isn't what you write on the wall. It's what your people feel on the drive home.
Interesting.
Every culture deck that we've all seen, every handbook that we've seen says we value transparency. And then leadership hides the layoffs until Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. The deck is sometimes fiction, and the drive home is the truth. What we're feeling in those moments of quiet when we get to reflect on our day is when it's telling on what the actual culture really is. One of my coaching clients runs a 4,000 person organization. She started ending every all hands by asking, "What's one thing you'd wish I'd said today?" That one question changed her culture more than 3 years of value workshops and the culture deck that was presented to them, because she was offering everyone to be a part of that transparency and create the culture change that everyone needed. So sometimes it's really simple. It's really just acknowledging what people have to say.
How can leaders then move away from corporate language and communicate more authenticity to their teams?
One thing I'd say is talk to your team the way you'd like to talk to a friend who just got bad news.
Okay.
How would you like to receive that news? I had a CEO read me his all hands script, and I asked him to read it again as if his sister had just lost her job. And as he did that, he teared up. He started crying. And then he rewrote it in 20 minutes, and the team noticed it differently. They felt it differently because of the way that he was delivering it. Our come from is the tell. Where are we coming from? Are we doing it as a script, or are we doing it with emotion and meaning? Corporate language, as he had it in his first all hands script, was a costume. And people wear it because they think it makes them safer. It makes them feel invisible, that they don't matter, that when they deliver something, it's the words on the paper that matters more. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. It is your come from within as you're delivering the invite or the words. You can almost say anything, but with the right come from, it doesn't matter the emotion behind it matters just as much as the words. And so rewording, retooling it in the way that we did, like his sister had just lost her job, built in the emotion that he really truly wanted to give but couldn't find the words for. That's the difference.
And now with so many AI tools, you can also ask those tools to help you create specific emotional weight on the messages, right? If you're not skilled enough to do that yourself.
Yeah. We can ask AI to tell us exactly what to say, but again, the delivery and our come from changes the tone.
Matters.
I can tell you the same thing in two different emotions, and you're going to feel it in one, and you're going to not feel it in the other. And then I could repeat that and say, you know, I could tell you exactly what you need to hear, but unless I really care, unless I really hope that you get what you need out of this, that it matters. Now, I just said the same thing twice, just from a different come from. So we could feel things completely differently from the same words that we're trying to explain.
If you have to point out the biggest communication mistake that leaders are making, what is it?
Just one, huh?
Well, the biggest, the biggest.
Oh man. So I'd say that they communicate to be seen as smart, not to be understood. That would be the biggest one that I could see. The translation cost gets paid by everyone below them when they're trying to be smarter. And when you try to be understood, it changes the game. Every layer down translates the message badly when you translate it from your from the place that you're trying to seem more intelligent. So by the time it reaches the front line, the strategy is totally unrecognizable. It's kind of like the telephone game when I tell, and then they tell them, and then they tell them, and then they tell them. By the time it reaches down, it's completely unrecognized. And that's not a comms problem. That's not communication problem. That's a vanity problem at the top. And the vanity that we are using to become more intelligent, more smarter, to be translated in a way that we think they need to hear is the issue. I would say just because I needed to have more than one, because there's so. The second biggest mistake is confusing volume with clarity. Sending 14 Slack updates a week doesn't mean that your team knows what matters. It means they've stopped reading what you're saying. So really figuring out what is that one thing that you want to say and saying it clearly. I always say anything can be said directly with compassion. Say it directly. Say it with compassion. It doesn't have to be said intelligently. It just can be said with direct compassion, and your message will become more clear.
You emphasize the emotional connection. How does that translate into employee engagement?
Engagement is my number one metric. I love engagement. I think engagement is far above everything else. I mean, even if you look at, just use social media, for example, a lot of people look at likes and views and clicks. And I mean, there's so many different metrics, but engagement is number. If you look at engagement internally at every company, engagement isn't, it's not a survey score. Engagement, you can't score engagement. It's whether your people would still show up if no one was watching. If you needed them when the chips were down, that's engagement. It's not engagement in the midst of something you ask them to do. It's when chaos actually hits.
Okay, the bad times, during the bad times.
Absolutely. You look at Gallup. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with Gallup.
Yep.
Gallup says that 70% of engagement is the manager. And I'd argue that 100% is where the manager remembers their team is human between the quarterly business reviews. It's what happens in between, not in the moment. And so when you have those moments where you can create that one question, is like I said before, is there something I didn't say today that you wish I asked? That's true. That's true management. That's true leadership. I had a client whose engagement score dropped 12 points in a quarter. but nothing changes structurally. They don't move to change things that matter. And she just stopped doing her Friday voice notes to the team, and that's how that little thin line is created. So when you stop with noise and start creating moments of truth, little moments of human truth, one to one, human to human, you're gonna create a much bigger moment when the chips are down.
And then regarding recruitment, how can recruitment change or adapt to truly embrace this human-to-human mindset?
Oh, recruitment is where I believe culture is extended. You're making a hire that is going to extend your culture beyond what it currently is, and it can make or break it.
Via employer branding, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, everything is a branding measure and a branding point.
Right.
And they're an extension of that brand the moment that you hire them. But I would say stop hiring resumes and start hiring humans who say something true in the first 10 minutes. If they can't say something true in the first 10 minutes that grabs you, that really gets you to believe that they are the one for your company, then everything else is just polish. If they can show up in that first 10 minutes in a way that you haven't seen before, you probably have your hire. The rest of it is teachable. Everything else you can hire, you can teach them skills. You can't hire for heart. Heart has to come with the person that resonates in that first 10 minutes.
What would be an example of something said in the first 10 minutes that would impress you?
So I would ask the candidate, first of all, to tell me about a time you said the thing nobody else in the room would say. If they can tell you what that is, and you feel that in your soul, that and you learn more about them in 2 minutes than in 2 hours of competency questions.
Okay.
What we tend to ask is competency questions. Tell me about how you did this. What did you do? That doesn't really tell you about the person. That tells you about their competency within the area.
Mm-hmm.
What you really want is behavioral understanding of where is it that they're coming from in their heart. And if they can tell you what is that one thing that they said that no one else would say in the room, and they answer that in your gut, you know that's a resonant sound. You're going to hire the right person.
That example that you gave may filter out some more good candidates, introverted good candidates that don't like to stand out between the crowds, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the best hire that I ever made at one of my companies, Peer Matter, came from a candidate who told me in the interview that our pitch deck was confusing, and I hired her on the spot. She ran account services because she was able to tell me what she really believed and why. Not that she could do the job, but how she would do the job and why it was confusing. She said the thing that no one else had ever said to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was brilliant that she was able to tap into that part of her.
No one likes to have people that give social desirable answers, right? Because they will give you social desirable answers all year. How can HR balance automation, the AI tools, all those AI tools, with real human connections nowadays?
AI can help us be more present with each other. It's not the opposite. AI is the weather. Your humanity is the house. So build the house first, and then decide what windows to open as the weather comes in. The idea here is that we are building things so that I can be with you here now more and be more present. If everything pulls me away from being with others, then we made the wrong move. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm building an AI powered CRM right now, and every single message it drafts has a human reviewing it before it ever sends. All AI handles is volume, but the human handles the meaning. So if we can always handle meaning and use technology as the volume interpreter, in the right way, now we've got I think, the perfect mix. So you mix those together in volume versus presence, and now we're using technology in the right way.
Because nowadays there's that big mistake of relying too much on AI, especially to produce content, messages, etc. And I think, personally believe that people should be careful and add some, as you mentioned, some time to review what comes from AI, because some things are not correctly said or should be tweaked in order for the message to be as you intended initially, and not just relying blindly on what comes out from AI. And people are doing that massively.
Yeah, we can. Was it AI slop? We're seeing a lot of that. We're going to see more of it, and the invite right now is that being human is everyone's competitive advantage.
Okay, because ultimately, if we don't change our mindsets in the future, what we'll have is AI between people communicating, right? So I want to send you a message. Oh, I will ask AI to send them to create that message to Bryan, then Bryan to reply to me. AI is the one creating the message. So we are talking to AIs, and AIs are doing this like middleware of communication, and
it's like human to AI to human, right?
So then, if you look also into the future from this HR perspective, do you believe that HR is becoming more human or more data driven?
Oh, it's data without humanity. It's absolutely, it's data, but data without humanity is also surveillance. So when you think about humanity without data, it's also guessing. We need both, so it's got to be both. And we can't let either of them win. They both have to be equally as important. I think the CHROs winning right now are the ones who use data to find the right question and then sit down with a human to answer it. The answer has to come from us, but how do we come up with the right question to ask is important. And the losers who use data to skip the conversation entirely are the ones that are going to not do well. So, I've seen companies spend 7 figures on engagement platforms and still have leaders who don't know, the direct reports kids' names, and that's going to be an issue. So, how do we get in right relationship with each person so that we understand who the person is on the other end?
Even AI can find you the answers for the data, right? I've heard many examples of companies that have the data, and then they ask AI to interpret the data, right? And then they work on the conclusions coming from AI. I'm guessing that's also probably a mistake, or there should be then an after step, which is humans reviewing the AI conclusions and see if it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a give and take. So yeah, absolutely, I agree.
If you could give CHROs one piece of advice today, what would that be?
I would say be the one person in the building who is not performing, and watch what happens. The whole company is performing for someone, whether it's the board, the CEO, the market. If the CHROs drop the costumes and it gives everyone else the permission to drop theirs, you're going to win. I'll go back to what I said before. I think being human is everyone's competitive advantage right now, more than ever. And authentic leadership at the top. I know authenticity is an overused word, but it's contagious when everyone shares in a way that people want to feel, they want to belong, they want to create, they want to stand up, and they want to be a part of something. So what I'm saying is stop performing performative leadership and start broadcasting your authenticity. This, I'm not saying anything new that wasn't said 10 years ago or 5 years ago. When we hit each pivotal point within our technology timeline of things changing, innovations happening. I mean, even when Blockbuster became Netflix, or what you could look at every single point in time, and we always are looking for the shortcut. And the shortcut is never turns out to be the thing that we think it should. And the problem isn't really the problem, and that's the problem. We need to look at how we're broadcasting our human selves. What is the authenticity we want to broadcast?
Mm-hmm.
If we can lock in on what that is and know that the thing that actually stands out is the human truth, that point where you look over and you go, I want to know that person. I would love to sit down and have lunch with that person. That would be really neat. I mean, we do that all the time in entertainment and Hollywood, right? You think, oh man, I would love to have lunch with that person. I have so many questions for Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is one of my most favorite actors. To sit down with Tom Hanks and have lunch with him and ask him about his typewriter collection, to me, would just be like the most fascinating lunch ever.
Okay.
Think about people that way. If you have that moment with a brand or with a person, you nailed it. That's the authenticity I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you mentioned that, because I've mentioned in other episodes that in the past I used to do something called the HR lunch, which was exactly that. HR reaching out to everyone in the company from time to time and have like a 30-minute conversation to see how the person is going, what could be improved, or hear feedback from the person. But the thing is, I call that HR lunch just because of that, to make that an informal moment. It's not like an HR call, it's an HR lunch. No one needs to be eating at the same time, because it can happen at any time of the day. But it's picking up of that tradition, of Portuguese tradition, which is, if you want to meet someone, let's grab some lunch, right? In Portugal, it takes too long, the lunches. But yeah, I want to meet that person. I want to talk about more informal stuff with that person. Let's have an HR lunch.
I love it. I can't wait to be invited to one of your HR lunches.
Or I'll be glad if you start inviting your C-level Silicon Valley's executives for HR lunches based on our conversation. I'll be very proud for that as well. Bryan, we are very close to the end. And everyone that comes into the show, I like to ask if they could recommend someone that could be an interesting next guest, someone with a good profile, an interesting story, an interesting project. Who would you like to recommend?
You would really enjoy Carla Johnson. She is one of my most favorite people in the world. And she wrote a book that talks about innovation in a way that happens inside the company, not just outside the company. And how do we maintain and sustain HR and operations and marketing and technology and all of these changes that are happening while still innovating, and not burning people out and asking the right questions. And the way that she presents it is just brilliant. She would be a wonderful addition to your show.
Challenge accepted. Thank you very much for the recommendation, Bryan. And also thank you for your availability for us to have the conversation and discuss these interesting topics. I've left, for everyone to know, on the video description, the links for Bryan's profiles and also for the book that we mentioned here today. If you're interested to follow up or connect with Bryan, feel free to do that.
And I'll make an offer to your audience. How about a gift? To the first 3 people that reach out to you or to me through your podcast, I'll give them a free book for H2H. Out of just wanting to be a part of your community and give back to your community. And so if they reach out, happy to deliver that it'll be a digital copy since we're all over the world, but I'm happy to deliver that to whoever the first 3 people are.
Mentioning that they saw this episode and they are reaching out because of that. Thank you then, Bryan. I hope one day we can meet in person, since you are connected with Lisbon. So let's see if that could happen one day.
We need to make that happen. That would be so cool.
It depends on us to happen. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.